Hi everyone, it's Melissa, and today I wanted to talk about Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk. The main character is a woman in her 60s named Mrs. Duszejko, and she lives on this remote plateau in Poland near the Czech border. She is really into astrology and makes these charts. She has a love of nature and the landscape of the area, and specifically the animals that live there. She's a vegetarian. She thinks it's wrong to kill animals, and she's very disturbed by the hunting and all of the poaching and illegal things happening in the area and how animals are being harmed there. The story gets started when her neighbor dies. It looks like he choked on a bone from a deer that he had killed and eaten. And after this, she sees a herd of deer outside his house, and she makes a connection that the deer were responsible, that they were responsible for his death because her neighbor was a poacher. There's a series of deaths that happen, and she starts telling everybody that this is the animals taking revenge, and we have to change our ways. Now, there's a lot to discuss in this book, but there were just 5 thoughts that I had about themes or elements of the book that I thought were particularly interesting. I'm going to start with one that's kind of an odd one, but I thought was really interesting, was how Mrs. Duszejko names people. So with a couple of exceptions, people in this book are not presented with their real names, and you don't know what their real names are. She assigns them names. So for example, her neighbor who dies was Bigfoot, and he's only ever mentioned, I think, as Bigfoot. Another neighbor of hers is Oddball. There's a woman who owns a boutique in town who she refers to as Good News. So no one is really given a proper name in this book, with a couple of exceptions. And it almost feels that she is doing this because she thinks she has all of the answers, that she knows who people really truly are. And I think this relates back to her obsession with astrology, that she can see the truth of the matter, and she lives with a certain certainty about everything. And this kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, lack of humility, self-assuredness, mixed with her oddness, makes for a very interesting character. The next element I thought was really interesting was this story being framed as a mystery, but not really written as a mystery. It doesn't feel like a mystery, but it's not because you know who's done it. I think when you're reading the book, you're not quite sure what to believe. It's not quite clear whether this is a book that maybe has some sort of fantastical or surreal element to it where animals could take revenge on poachers, or if it is a book grounded in reality where the answer is either that people are getting murdered or there just happen to have been a series of coincidences, of accidents. So technically there is a mystery element where you don't know really what's happening or what or who is responsible. But while that's true, I think you kind of just don't care. Mrs. Duszejko has put forth this theory of animal revenge, and she is telling everybody that this is the answer. But at the same time, she's not acting as some sort of amateur sleuth. She's not hunting for clues. There's no detective element to this story. So it just doesn't feel like a mystery. And the way that it's written, it's more about the ideas that are being explored. And while you're reading it, it feels like it just doesn't matter who's responsible. The next element that I thought was really interesting was the kind of overtone of faith or belief in the novel. There's a lot to do with religion and, of course, astrology. This village is a religious area, a lot of which Mrs. Duszejko disagrees with because they condone hunting, and she is opposed to the kind of thinking of man having dominion over animals. So she rejects faith in that way, but she clings to her belief of astrology, and she wouldn't think of it as a belief system. She sees it as a scientific pursuit. But there is this kind of cloud of religion or belief present in the novel, and it begs the question of what you see as fact. And it actually really relates to the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which is the exploration of morality in this book. How do you define morality? Some people define it with a religious framework, but Mrs. DeShaco doesn't. In this area, hunting and other behaviors surrounding animals are condoned by religion. They're endorsed by the religion there, and she thinks that that's evil. And there is a discussion you can have born out of this book about where morality comes from and where do we draw the line. There is a real distinction, at least according to Mrs. DeShaco, because we're following her point of view. There's a real distinction between the law or religious rules and what is moral. And the last thing that I wanted to mention was the contradiction in Mrs. DeShaco's views that I thought was really interesting. So like I mentioned, she's an animal lover and she's into astrology. So as a lover of nature and of animals, she has been pleading with various officials to do something about the poaching, to put a stop to what's happening out in the forest. But as someone who believes deeply in astrology and who makes charts, she has this belief that things are written in the stars, and she has what seems to be a belief in fate and a rejection of, I think, what most people would call free will. She believes that the alignment of the stars dictates everything, dictates when you're going to die, dictates when people are bound to be hunters. So in a way, hunters are just fated to hunt. So there's this contradiction, because why on earth would she expend so much time and energy writing letters to police officers and town council or whoever it is she's writing letters to, and going down to the station to talk to do something about the hunting and poaching and other illegal activities that are happening? And it's just really interesting that she puts all this effort into this endeavor when, by her own belief system, aren't the actions that the hunter's doing part of what they are meant to do because of the alignment of stars and planets? And this really links back to this question of morals. Do we have any choice in the matter, or are all of our actions dictated? Those are some of the thoughts that were plaguing my mind as I read this book. If you've read this book and you have any thoughts, or you have opinions based on what I've said in this video, please leave a comment below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll chat soon. Take care. Bye.